Hi, good evening. Warm welcome to Business Live. Coming up in our headlines, Securities and Exchange Commission says it is awaiting approval of a final liquidation order to clear all outstanding investment of customers of Gold Coast Fund Management.
Numbers are very clear in terms of who we have taken care of. And also important to know that even with the partial bailout which we executed, we had over 82% of all pensioners being taken care of. So whilst we know that a lot has been done, it's important for us to state that we remain committed to the process and seeing it through to the logical conclusion.
Plus, Ghana Mine Workers Union, in solidarity with the Trades Union Congress, to embark on a massive demonstration on May 9 over alleged abuse of workers by Chinese firm Sanon Asogli following the expiry of an earlier ultimatum given by the company to reinstate stuck workers.
We have already notified the police in Tehran that on the 9th of May, the first solidarity action will take place.
And economist Professor William Boatin warns of an increase in tax avoidance as a result of tax measures introduced by government. We have details of these and many others lined up for you. Welcome to the program. I am Pious Baka. To our very first story, the Securities and Exchange Commission says it is awaiting approval of a final liquidation order to clear all outstanding investments of customers of Gold Coast Fund Management. Well, this is in response to renewed pressure from customers demanding immediate payment of their locked-up funds. Customers this week picketed SEC, calling on the receiver of the defunct Gold Coast Fund Management to pay their locked-up funds. Receiving a petition for the group head of communications and external affairs, Dr. Godwin Ansa, says the SEC is committed to paying the customers.
So we have heard about the allegations about 5.5 million, which was approved by Parliament in 2021 for Black Shield customers. And I believe that our response has been very unequivocal and very clear in terms of who these monies were from. First and foremost, we wish to state that SEC doesn't hold on to any monies. We are not the agent in charge of managing the funds. Now, out of the 5.5 billion cedis that was approved for Parliament for this purpose, it's important to note that it was for all affected investors of all 47 fund management companies and not just for Black Shield customers only. So far, the update we received from the agent is that 4.6 billion has so far been disbursed by the government of Ghana and has been apportioned as follows. About 1.3 billion has been paid to customers in tier. 3.1 billion cedis has been apportioned to customers in tier 1 payments, and we also have 1.3 billion which has been paid in tier 2 payments. Now, specifically, it's also important to know that the SEC has shown a lot of commitment towards the process by supporting the process as much as possible. We petitioned the government regarding a partial bailout regarding whilst waiting for the outcome of liquidation orders which were being sought by the official liquidator. Now, so far in the partial bailout process, about 1.3 billion has been paid to customers of Gold Coast, and this affected and this took care of partial claims amounting to 73,000 claims in total. Now, it's also important to know that out of this, over 750 million cedis used to fully settle over 61,000 claims of Black Shield customers. So this shows you without doubt that the SEC has been very proactive as far as the process has been concerned. Our mandate and our commitment remains the integrity of the market and the protection of investors. Well, we cannot agree with the numbers that have been presented by representatives from the other side. We were very clear in terms of what we have done so far. We mentioned that over 73,000 claims have actually been paid or covered with about 1.3 billion Ghana cedis. And also, as far as 61,000 claims were concerned, we have apportioned about 750 million Ghana cedis, which has been used to fully settle these customers. So our numbers are very clear in terms of who we have taken care of. And also important to know that even with the partial bailout which we executed, we had over 82% of all pensioners being taken care of. So whilst we know that a lot has been done, it's important for us to state that we remain committed to the process and seeing it through to the logical conclusion. It's also important to state that SEC is not party to any of the applications in the court. The government gave two conditions for which the full bailout would be implemented. One, the liquidation orders being obtained by the official liquidator, and that can be granted through the courts as per the relevant law, and also the validation of claims. We have actually finished with the validation of claims, and the said monies have been paid out even to Black Shield customers under the partial bailout program which the government awarded on humanitarian grounds. So far, we have about 44 out of 46 liquidation orders which have been obtained. We only have 2 outstanding, and we are very committed to the process, and we are sure that these orders will be obtained so that the needful can be done.
Now, the Trades Union Congress, in solidarity with the Ghana Mine Workers Union, is set to embark on a massive demonstration come Tuesday, May 9, for what it describes as an abuse of workers' rights by the Chinese firm Sun & Asogli Power Ghana. Now, this follows the expiry of an ultimatum given by the union for the company to reinstate the workers whose contracts were allegedly terminated on the basis that they were joined by the Ghana Mine Workers Union. We will engage the Secretary General of the Ghana Mine Workers Union shortly, but let's first hear from the Secretary General of TUC, Dr. Yao Ban, who spoke recently at this year's National Mary Day Parade at Bolgatanga.
The Honorable Ignatius Baisfuwa and his deputy and the chief director, we met the managers of Sun & Asogli for almost 5 hours. But we are not going to meet them again if they don't reinstate the 3 colleagues that have been sacked. And comrades, I want to let you know, we have already notified the police in Tema that on the 9th of May, on the 9th of May, the first solidarity action will take place. And I want those of you who are listening to me in Tema and Accra to get ready for action. On the 9th of May, we will give you the details by the close of this week. But I want you to be ready for this action. We will let them know that they cannot come from China to tell us what to do in our own country. Mr. President, we do not think that our government should allow such a thing to happen in our country at this day and age. We expect government to do something about this urgently. If government doesn't do anything about it, we will do something about it.
So that's the Secretary General of TUC, Dr. Yao Ban, speaking at the May Day Parade in Bolgatanga recently. Now let's get onto Zoom and speak to the General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union, Abdul Mumin Gbana, for more on this. Grateful, Mr. Gbana, you could join me on Business Live. Would you still go ahead with the planned demonstration come Tuesday?
Well, thank you very much. Good evening to you, and good evening to your viewers. I must say that TUC and all its 23 affiliate unions are more than determined to embark on this demonstration. In fact, it is extremely important because of the significance of the matter at hand. No worker no worker in Ghana must be taken through this horrendous, arrangement that these three union leaders have been taken through by Sunan Assembly. And so the TUC and all its 23 affiliates are more than determined. We would ensure that the demonstration comes on. We have one simple demand, and that demand is for the three union leaders to be reinstated back to their original positions. These three union leaders committed no crime. Okay, the only crime according to the company is that they joined a union and in fact voluntarily elected to be union leaders of their fellow workers. And for that matter, why would a union leader go through, such horrendous arrangements? And so the demonstration is still very much on course.
Well, the argument from Sunan Asogli is that your outfit did not follow the right procedure with your demands.
Well, that is quite laughable. That is completely incorrect. And I must say that it is one of the factual inaccuracies that have been put out there by the management of Sunan Asogli. Let me put on record that the Ghana Mine Workers Union, and by extension, unions in Ghana do not issue bargaining certificates. There are institutions of state, including the Labor Department, that is cloaked with the power and the mandate to issue bargaining certificates. The Ghana Mine Workers Union went through the process, in fact, complied with procedures and processes of law, and the bargaining certificate was issued. So, on no grounds can Sunan Asogli suggest to us that our approach, and for that matter, the procedure that we adopted in number one, the unionization process and the acquisition of bargaining certificate was not appropriate. It's unfortunate that it has to come to this point. I must say that the Labor Department knows what it did, unless, of course, they think that they are a law unto themselves. And for that matter, they determine what should happen at every stage of the way.
Are you able to share some fresh details with us or any development in relation to this picketing, so to speak, come Tuesday on the side of Sunan Asogli? Have they said anything to you?
Well, I must say that this matter is of national significance. And for that matter, the government is not only interested, but we also have individuals in our society who are equally interested in the matter. Let me put on record that as of this afternoon, a meeting was called at the instance of Togbe Afede. Togbe Afede is closely associated with Sunan Asogli. The meeting was to discuss the matter at hand and to see to what extent he could intervene in the matter. We have given him all the support. We believe that he should be able to intervene in the matter, albeit that this matter, since it started, close to 3 months ago, Togbe Afede has been in this country. Togbe Afede is fully apprised of the issues. Unfortunately, he did not intervene at the time, or he did not intervene as quickly as we would have expected. Notwithstanding, he's made this overture. A meeting took place between the leaders of TUC and my good self and the national chairman of the Mine Workers Union. He has indicated to us his preparedness to engage Sunan Asogli with a view to finding a more lasting solution to the matter. Barring that arrangement that we have with Togbe Afede, we believe that Tuesday, May 9th, we're proceeding with our actions. And so the expectation is that Togbe Afede, based on the conversations that took place between our good selves and him, will come back to us, hopefully on Monday. But like I said, the TUC and all its 23 affiliates, relying on its structures, have taken major decisions on this matter. We have planned to embark on this demonstration on Tuesday, May 9th. And as far as we are concerned, that arrangement holds. But if Togbe's intervention, and by extension, government and other individuals in our society are minded, and for that matter intervenes, why not? The trade unions are open to social dialogue. Matters around demonstrations, strikes will always become a matter of last resort. And so we are committed to the processes, but to the extent that Tuesday we do not hear anything positive, based on the interventions that are being made, our plans are well aligned and we're back on the demonstration.
Interesting, but one would say, why would you even go forward to speak to Togbe in that regard, knowing very well that you've issued an ultimatum to picket? So if now the resolution is that Togbe will get back to you, and hopefully on Monday and Tuesday you will embark on that demonstration, why don't you give him some grace period to, give you a feedback of some sort?
Well, like I indicated earlier, this matter has been running since February. We are in May, and Togbe Afede, we all know, has been in this country all this while. And so if the intervention is being made now, we would give him the space and the time. But to the extent that the matter has traveled, remember, livelihoods are at stake, incomes are at stake. These three union leaders committed no crime. They've been home for the last 2-3 months. And so this matter must be expeditiously dealt with. So we have given him that space between now and, or today and Monday, close of business Monday. The expectation is that he will put in place any interventions that he can from his end. But beyond Monday, the structures of the TUC, including the steering committee of the TUC, have taken some very decisive steps. And I'm not sure that those steps will be halted, for any reason.
All right. Thank you very much, Abdul Momen Bana. He is the Secretary General of the Ghana Mine Workers Union, speaking to us on that developing story there. We shall certainly keep an eye on that and keep you updated in our subsequent bulletins. Let's move on to some other stories. And economist Professor William Bamboating is warning of an increase in tax avoidance by businesses. Now, this is some concerns about the implementation of the 3 key tax measures required for an IMF deal, as well as government's revenue mobilization policy for this year. Professor Bamboating has been speaking on PM Express Business Edition.
Since our O-level and A-level days in the the 80s and 90s, we've been talking about expanding the tax net, and we've been expanding it, and we have not stopped expand, but we are not getting what we want. It means there's something that we are not doing right. Let me tell you, when you talk about 13% tax to GDP, 13%, I ask myself, what goes into the 13%? There are so many payments that the public, citizens, you and I are making, but government is looking at the tax, the VAT, the corporate tax, the income tax, and so on. Almost all agencies in government are becoming authority. And when they become authority, they are supposed to impose some fees or charges on the industry that they regulate. And those charges and fees come to them, and they have to manage it. So, for instance, if you take the tourism industry, I have realized, and I have been told, and I've also looked at it and spoken to industry players, there are as many as 13 different taxes, levies, charges, and what have you. But it doesn't go to a point where government will be able to manage and say that this is the revenue coming from here. So government will just look at what comes to the consolidated fund and say that our tax continually is low. So when government raises the tax again, the same people who are paying as many as 13, can they pay the 14? Can they pay the 15? And the moment we have so many taxes, people begin to avoid.
Do you think that these recent tax measures will fail to bring in the required revenue?
I don't think so. I mean, let me blunt. I don't think so. I mean, we have a new excise tax, we have this, we have that. I mean, if people are paying as many as 13 different charges, fees, taxes, then you bring a new one, people will avoid it. What measures have we taken to minimize or plug all the leakages that we have in the system?
Watching Business Life with me, Pious Kojo. More after this break. Hello again, I am Pious Kojo Baka. To some other stories. Solar Taxi Limited, one of the first transport management companies to have introduced electric vehicles into the Ghanaian transport sector, has been shortlisted for the inaugural Qualcomm Make in Africa mentorship program. The global American multinational corporation Qualcomm Technologies listed the Ghanaian company as part of a group of 10 startups to participate in a program dubbed Make in Africa Startup Mentorship. There is more in this report.
About 3 years ago, Solar Taxi Limited introduced the first set of electric vehicles into the Ghanaian transport sector. Being an initiative started by Kumasi High Foundation, the innovative program is seeking to create environmental, social, and economic impact in Ghanaian communities by harnessing renewable energy off the sun and using it to power vehicles. Arnold Anochia Martin is operations manager of Solar Taxi.
Talk about Benz, Rolls-Royce, Maserati, Ford. They are all, even Hammer has launched an EV Hammer. So it tells you all these companies will require batteries to power their vehicles, and most of them outsource it from different countries like China. I think somewhere late 2020 there was a shortage of battery packs because almost all these countries were demanding it from these battery pack producers.
So this is a team led by Christopher Mehoho dedicated themselves to a research design that has now become a battery pack designed to solve the energy needs of cars and motorcycles in Ghana, with the potential of providing sustainable energy needs for the entire African continent. These innovative works by Solar Taxi is beginning to gain global recognition as the multinational corporation Qualcomm Technologies Incorporated, naming the Ghanaian company and 9 other startups to participate in the Make in Africa Startup Mentorship Program. Sudipto Roy is Vice President of Engineering at Qualcomm Technology Incorporated.
No, Qualcomm, like Elizabeth said, we are indeed fortunate that our technologies, basically, if you're using a connected computing device, you're using Qualcomm technologies, right? It's so I call it like one of the largest, least known companies in the world, right? Because you hear about those with more consumer brands and such, right? But you don't hear about Qualcomm. But this particular call we are having, if you're using a cell phone, if you're using a Wi-Fi router, if your vehicle is connected, right? These are all elements of Qualcomm technology. And the remarkable thing is that we make none of those, right? We are technology originators with design chips. We don't even make the chips that it is fabricated by somebody else. So in other words, it's in our DNA, obviously, to come up with foundational technology, but it's in our DNA to partners with others. Now, we've been very fortunate that throughout the roughly 4 decades of our existence, we have been able to partner with device manufacturers on both sides of the Pacific, both sides of the Atlantic, now increasingly in Vietnam and India. But the time for Africa is now. African startups are really good in areas like fintech, in education, in agri-tech, right? But the ability to make in Africa has to start now, right? And we believe that this is where we can add our efforts to that impetus, so that when young African entrepreneurs are thinking of how do I make a local design in Kenya or Ghana, in Nigeria or Rwanda, how do I do that? What kind of technology do we need? What are the best business practices that have worked elsewhere in the world? How do I protect my intellectual property that I develop? So these are all the questions that we can help and advise with.
Elizabeth Migwala, who serves as Vice President, Government Affairs at Qualcomm Incorporated, has dedicated the last 15 years of her life interacting directly with key government ministries, regulatory authorities, as well as international regulatory fora in order to drive the adoption of advanced broadband wireless technologies and services on the continent. She tells Joy News that digital innovation has the potential to transform African countries such as Ghana.
I got to the point where I believe that we could be more tangible in the sense that, that there is something that we could do, and the time was now. And having observed what Sudipto, my colleague, has done with other regions and other countries, and looking at what we have, I personally felt that, this was the time to do it in Africa. And actually, I felt that the potential for success was available.
And that's it for the program. I am Pious Kojo Baka. Let's do this next week. Bye.